My wife and I bought this place in 2005 and started with very few cows, no equipment, and it's just been a learning process ever since. Just when we thought we really had the ball rolling, Storm Atlas came and wiped out a lot of cows for us. At that point, we had to look at how we did things and try to figure out different ways to do things. It was a really hard time. To say gut-wrenching was absolutely true. There was days where you'd come home from burying cows, couldn't figure out why you were sick, and it was just gut-wrenching. We knew we had to change something. Ever since we've been on this ranch, Christy kept saying that there's got to be a way to use the water. We have an abundance of water here, and we just knew that at some point there had to be a way to make money from the water. So what we did after Atlas is we followed everybody else. What we did is we tried to get bigger, faster, and quicker. We tried everything we could to do the conventional farming and ranching. We got more cows, we leased more ground, we put up more feed, and all that did was dug us a hole quicker. And so I went to the grazing school, I think, in the fall of 2015. The Grasslands Coalition puts on the grazing school. So anyway, I went through the grazing school, and 2016 we were dry, and we ended up having to sell some yearlings. That was a terrible, hard decision to sell our yearlings. And after that, that opened up the door for me. I was able to see things that I couldn't see when I was doing all the chores and just the day-to-day stuff that it takes to run a lot of animals. So we took a step back and tried to focus on the land instead of the livestock. First thing we had to do is learn how to take care of the land. There's a lot of things that I didn't know. Since we sold a lot of cows and the yearlings, we had time to do more. And so what I did is went to seminars, read books, watched YouTube. I gathered as much information as I could on how to make the soil better. One of my big questions was, can I graze irrigation? Can I graze pivots profitably? And so that's what I was searching for. Well, in doing that, that opened up a whole new world for me. We finally found some people that were grazing pivots, and then after the first year that I did it, I planted a cover crop in June with the goal of putting up about 5 tons of dry matter feed to winter cows on. And after we actually turned those cows in there without chopping it, without haying it, just turned the cows into it and let them graze and be cows, that first winter was a success. It was just a big relief not having to feed. All of that biomass was going back into the ground. And so we took nothing off of those fields, just a little bit of beef. Everything else went back into the soil. Through that experience, that first year, then we started learning more about the soil and start digging around and seeing the infiltration and the earthworms and the different biology that was happening in our soil that we'd never seen before. Then I was hooked. I figured if I could take care of the soil, the rest would take care of itself. You know, the grasses are going to be better, the crops are going to be better. I didn't realize the effect it would have on my family and me as far as the stress level has just went away. It's been a life changer for us. So our goal was to get to 600 cows, and we really didn't know why we had that goal. We just thought we needed 600 cows. What we should have been looking at was a gross margin per cow or per unit, and we weren't looking at that. We just figured if we had more, we would do better. So that first year when we made the decision to sell those yearlings, we decided to graze some winter triticale. And normally I plant that and I'll hay it and then I'll plant alfalfa back into that, and that's my crop rotation. But we decided to turn those yearlings onto the winter triticale, try to extend our grazing season a little bit longer. We were hoping that it'd start raining and we wouldn't have to sell. So we started there. We ended up still having to sell the yearlings, but we took the triticale out with the livestock. So we terminated the triticale with the herd impact or with hooves, and then we no-till planted a warm season cover crop right into that with the intent to graze that through the winter. And so that was the first year, and that's how we kind of got our start. And man, that was like jumping off a cliff for me, to think that I didn't have to hay that, and that I could just turn cows in there and they'd do the work for me. That was a hard one to get over. So then the next year I said, man, I'm really onto something. So we did more acres, and then by the end of that year I knew I was onto something, so we sold all of our haying equipment. Decided we didn't need that anymore. If we need hay, we'll buy hay. We just did the math, and a lot of the things that have changed was just learning how to do our numbers right, and learning really what the economic impact is. And we were not making money haying, so we could buy hay cheaper than we could make it here. This year's been extremely dry in spots. We've picked up some rain showers in different spots, but on this place here, we just broke 5 inches of rain for the summer. And so growing conditions through May and June were horrible. One of our goals is always to try to save about a half section or 320 acres a year that we never graze. It would be about 18 months between graze periods. Just doing that has actually allowed me to keep our cattle longer. I thought we would have to sell several head, by the end of August easy. And right now we're holding on. It's not ideal, but the pastures still are holding up pretty good. And I don't think we could have done that. So one of the things we've done is we've entered into different enterprises. One of them is pasture pigs. One reason is we just have small spots on our place that are really underutilized, and pigs fit well with them. As long as we keep the pigs out on pasture and keep them moving, they're really not very hard on the land, and it's kind of cool to see what they're doing to the land. There's definitely a need for local food, and made a few phone calls before we bought the pigs and decided to do it to see if anybody would be interested, and every single phone call I made, people wanted a pig. So I thought, well, let's try it and see what happens. I get a kick out of watching the pigs. So it's just a different animal, and it gets you to think of different things. And again, that goes back to less chores and less haying, and all that stuff gives you the opportunity to think outside the box, and you can come up with these different enterprises. Another thing we're doing is the cover crop maize and the pumpkin patch. We're 12 miles east of Rapid City, and we feel like there's not really anybody else doing it in our area. And what our goal was in that was to showcase soil health, and have kids come out and have to go look for a turnip or a radish or kale or collards inside the cover crop maize, and then bring them out, and we'll talk about why we planted that and how the cow utilizes that. And then another goal is to sell, grass finished beef through that. When people come, we show them livestock and try to market some beef through that. In our vision of Christy and I and the rest of our family was to educate and connect our community back with their local farmers and ranchers, and find out where their food comes from, how it's grown, what it takes to grow it, and teach them, how to grow a backyard garden, whatever it takes. But healthy food and healthy land is just incredibly important to us. Every rancher wants to turn his place over to a family member, I think. And a lot of us have a tendency to just automatically assume that that's going to happen without even looking at their kids to see if they want to come back. I think the path we were going down before with the conventional farming and ranching, my kids had no interest. They didn't have enough time with me to find anything to enjoy. Since we've kind of transitioned and changed calving dates and changed the haying operation and got rid of it, I have more time to be with my kids, and more time to show them the land, and more time to show them, even economics and the numbers. They spend a lot of time with us in the office. We have family meetings now and talk about, what's our goals and our mission, and what do we want to accomplish on this place in the next 7 years. If you can take care of the land, I truly believe the rest will fall in. Never stop learning.